Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, and get unstuck so you can go out and generate more leads, more sales, more profits. More importantly, so you can go out and have a bigger reach, a bigger impact, and make a bigger contribution. Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and a method to be able to go out, grow your business with a lot less stress. Today, I have a question for you. Are you in a situation where you'd like to grow with a lot less friction in your business? Maybe you're realizing that there's a lot of money left on the table in your business, or maybe you're like, golly, if I just followed up with my clients better, I know I would have a bigger impact and it would probably drive more revenue, more referrals, and a whole lot more. Well, if that's the case, then you're going to love today's segment. But if you're not looking for a way to be able to focus on follow-up or retention or referrals and a whole lot more, well, then this may not be for you. Today, we have a friend and guest expert. His name is Mostafa Hosseini, and he has quietly, in many ways, for the last 12 years, been helping people, founders, CEOs, maybe just like you, help transform their business by fixing their follow-up. Right? By fixing their follow-up. And for 12 years, he's also the founder of Persyo, as well as the founder of the Simple Retention Formula. The Simple Retention Formula, like what would happen to your business if you had greater retention and greater follow-up? How would it change the game for your business, right? And in a world where most people are focused on automate, here's a perspective I have. I've been talking about for over a decade. Most people are so focused on automation, they automate themselves right out of business. They automate themselves right out of business. I don't want to see that happen to you, which is why Mostafa is here today. Because we're one of the top experts at being able to show you how to fix your follow-up and how what we refer to internally as the HOP experience, one of our frameworks. Humanize it, optimize it, personalize it. Like what would happen for your business if you had ways that were profitable where you could humanize it, optimize it, and personalize it? One of those simple ways is having more effective follow-up. And we're going to dive into that today. Mostafa, it's great to have you here, brother. How are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Thanks for having me. Great to be here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. So let's dive in right off the bat. Everybody's got a backstory, like why they're doing their deal. Why are you focused on fixing people's follow-up?
For sure. So I ran a marketing agency from 2010 to 2018, and we did A to Z digital marketing for our clients, along with coaching and consulting them. And so back in the day, I learned from Dan Kennedy about the power of retention and follow-ups and how nobody does it. And it's like the low-hanging fruits with the businesses and how profitable it is and the rest of it. And so the story is that every time over the years, I ran out of cash or customers or referrals and leads and whatnot, I would pull my hair out for a few days. And then I would come to my senses and realize that I have a list that I could call. Then I would pick up the phone, make a round of calls to my list. And on the day of or shortly after, I would get cash, appointments, referrals, introductions, and you name it. And then in 2017, I started teaching what was working with us during the agency days in a course called Simple Marketing Formula. And that's where I help people create a simple marketing plan and a simple marketing strategy. And then the last module is always retention. So we go through, everything, including last three modules were lead generation, lead conversion, and customer retention. And then when it came to retention, I'm like, people, here's the script, here's the process, pick up the phone, call your list today, and you're going to see results today. And nobody would do it. And I'm like, that's interesting, but these are your people. These are your customers. You have a relationship with them. Like you shouldn't really be scared to pick up the phone. And I'm giving you the script. And I'm like, people, just have a very friendly and nurturing conversation, not a pushy, salesy kind of conversation. They still wouldn't do it. So later on, I had a guy who was making calls for us and he was looking for more work. And then what happened was we're like, a few times during the course, we're like, we have a guy who can make calls for you to your list. Who wants an introduction? Everybody. Like, interesting. So that happened a few times. Then I'm like, what if we do it for you and we manage it for you? Who wants us to do that? Everybody. And that's why we started the call center, specializing in follow-ups, retention, and referrals. That was the long answer to your simple question.
No, that gives some great history and also a lot of depth there, a lot of distinctions. And by the way, if you're watching or listening right now, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of our show. I'm just going to come out and give a blatant promo for Mostafa, because for our companies, our clients, and we've been doing this for 30 years, one of the magic models is simply putting a follow-up model in place. It just is. And so I want to encourage you, and here's the best part with Mostafa and his team. If you qualify and there's a fit and you work together, he guarantees that you'll get a 200% ROI, right? Which nobody that I know of in this space of doing follow-up does. So if you want to if you had leads coming in and you have offers that are bringing in clients, or you've been building clients for a long time, and maybe you've got a feeling in your heart of hearts that you're like, God, if I could just follow up, but I'm a smaller, leaner team. They're already busy enough. And I tried that. Well, what would happen if you could have a fractional call team for you to level up? We've seen many times with the clients we've worked with in our own work that we've done over the years, where adding the simple follow-up will double a company, triple a company, quadruple a company, sometimes even 10x the company almost overnight. I don't want to make this too good because we don't know if you're a fit, but if you are looking to work with a provider where they guarantee their results, if there's a fit to work together, then I'd encourage you to check out Mostafa's work. And there's the links on the page somewhere here that you can find. You can go learn more, and I'll actually give you, Mostafa, how can people reach you? How can they reach you and get in touch with you?
You could go on our website at persyo.com. That's PERSYO.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, message me on LinkedIn, and we'll have a chat and set up a time to chat. And you can find me on Facebook. I'm all over the place. So
awesome. So I encourage you, go to PERSYO.com. Persyo. Go to Persyo right now, and you can look to get something scheduled. Now, that being said, Mostafa, I've been doing this for 30-some years. It's, there's so many people who come and go, and you've got sustainability doing what you've been doing for the last 12 years, right? Warren Buffett, in fact, I don't know if you're watching or listening right now, but Warren Buffett, if you study some of his works, what he looks to do is to find companies that have, and he has his own name of this, but I'm just going to simplify it and dumb it down, which is a competitive advantage, right? And when he analyzes the financial statements, he's looking for the competitive advantage. And one of the criteria is, it's not a never, but it's a huge factor in his decision-making, because he looks for long-term companies. He's not looking for the up. He thinks more like a mutual fund mindset versus a stock day trading, let's get in on this, and then 10 minutes later, let's get out, or basically a stock picker, right? His original mentor was Ben Graham. And what he looks at is a company that's been around for at least 10 years. That's part of his minimum criteria to decide whether to work. Well, again, coming back to this capability of fixing follow-up, or even adding follow-up that's even better than maybe you have right now, and maximizing it and really putting a true energy, again, can help you skyrocket your valuation, which can set you up for getting more free in your business. If that's what you're looking for, it can help set you up for, being in a place where if you want to exit, you can. If you want to sell the business, if you want to essentially take the company public with a valuation that gets maximized, right? Which we, as a company, we've been able to help, all of those types of companies over the years. So Mostafa, looking at, follow-up, what you've become an expert at all these years, what are some of the big mistakes that you see that most providers or most companies, most founders running those companies make as it relates to the follow-up?
So the biggest mistake they make is they just don't do it. So about 50% of salespeople never follow up a second time. And think about that. That's like 50% of money that you're leaving on the table. And I learned this from Jeff Walker years ago. And he one day he said, about 80% of transactions happen within the first 18 months of the first point of contact. 18 months. And so considering that about half the business owners and salespeople never follow up a second time, they're leaving multiple 6, 7, 8, or 9 figures on the table, depending on the type of the business. So the biggest mistake is that they just don't do it. And so they're focused on the people that want to buy now, and like who has cash handy and they want to give me money today. And that's about 1 to 3% of the market, right? And the rest of them are just more of a long-term play, and long-term probably means different length of time depending on the type of business that we're in.
Yeah, and as you're watching or you're listening right now, right? If you're not doing follow-up, encourage you, just simply pick up the phone and reach out to some of your clients. And you can do this even with a voice message and a voice text and just say, hey, I was thinking about you, Mostafa. And then explain to them something that you might sincerely, right? Don't use flattery because people can smell it a mile away, but sincerely, share something in your heart, on your mind about them that you're grateful for. And if you make this a habit every day or every week, you'd be amazed at how you actually get inbound calls coming back to you to want to talk instead of you even having to reach out to convince somebody to talk. You're compelling someone to talk instead of convincing, especially if you're a lean team, right? Or you also care about humanizing the experience or personalizing the experience, or have your sales team do it if you have one, right? There's so many different points. On top of that, build a system where you follow up regularly, right? You follow up regularly. So speak to the idea of like, what do you see, Mostafa, like if someone were here with us today, they're sitting next to us in this, in this brainstorm together, if you will. And they were like, Mostafa, like what are 1 to 3, profit strategies I could like put in place like right now? Like what would you tell them?
So let me talk about the 3 places that people leave a lot of money on the table. Would that be all right?
Absolutely.
Let's start with your website. So usually you spend a lot of money to bring in traffic on your website. Now, there's a bunch of people that would probably sign up and opt in and get something from you. And there's a big portion that does not get anything from you. They just come in and they leave for whatever reason. Maybe they got distracted. Maybe they didn't like the text or the audio or the video or the color or whatever. So what most people do is they do not follow those people around, because Facebook and Google allows you to create, so what we call pixel them, or on Google, you can add them to your remarketing or retargeting list. And you can follow these people around and show them ads so you can bring them back. And they would be a more qualified list of people because they have expressed interest in what you do. They've clicked on your ad, they came on your website, they spent a few minutes, and they engaged with you in a way or two. So that's probably one of the first or biggest places where people leave money on the table. Then there's the people that come in and download a lead magnet, a checklist, a video, opt into a webinar or whatnot. And then again, most businesses do not follow up with those people. So I'm sure, Dan, it will probably, it costs anywhere from $100 to $500 to bring a lead in, depending on what you're doing. So you spend all this time and money and energy and resources to bring this lead in. The person comes in, opts in to get something from you, and then you just leave them up in the air. They're just sitting in your database or CRM somewhere collecting dust, right? That's the second place that people leave money. The third place is your existing customers. You ever ran into this problem when your vendors call you when your payment fails? And they never call you otherwise? That's like a bad strategy. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. So you could simply pick up the phone, call your leads. Hey, how's it going? Now you have a reason to call. We say, hey, our system shows that you have downloaded this checklist. Does that ring a bell? And they're like, well, yeah, if it's recent, of course it rings a bell. Or if maybe someone else put their email in, which is a different story. But usually it rings a bell because they did it. Now, here's what the next thing I would say is like, Dan, I'm sure you were not trying to, waste your time by doing this. Do you mind if I asked you what was the problem that you were trying to fix? or the problem you were trying to solve by getting this checklist. Now I'm opening up the conversation, see what's the biggest challenge? What were you trying to do? Right. And then I would just sit there and listen, ask follow-up questions. How bad is this problem? How badly is this hurting you and your business? So now we're confirming and doing some needs analysis. And then I would qualify the customer and say, do you want to fix this? Right. And they'd be like, yes or no. And they will tell you either they were just looking around and whatnot, or they're like, this is Chris Voss calls it a bleeding neck, if I'm not mistaken, or someone else that's like, they have a problem, they're dying, so they need to fix this. And then the next step is the financial qualification. Are you in a position to invest in your business to fix this problem? Right. And if they say yes, I'm ready to invest, then boom. Then the next question is, would you be opposed to booking a call with one of our team members to see if we might be able to, help you fix this problem, right? And so here's the approach. The approach is very friendly and nurturing. So we're not doing the pushy, salesy. I have this offer. Do you want to buy now? We're like, does this ring a bell? You've done this, right? And so that's with the people that opted in. For your existing customers, like you said, you could just pick up the phone, call them up and say, hey, Dan, how's it going? Mostafa here. The reason I'm calling is I just wanted to say hi, right? I noticed we haven't spoken for a while. And if you haven't called them for a few years, you just want to bring it up first and say, I understand that I haven't been in touch. And I took a course, I heard Mostafa talk about this on some podcast. And I just wanted to call, say hi and see how things are going. And then you'd be surprised how often people will thank you for doing that. They're like, oh my God, thank you for thinking of me. And so that was the long answer to your simple question again. It's like, those are the three places that people leave massive money on the table, and you could just easily and simply pick up the phone and have conversations because you have a reason to. And with your existing customers, when you have a friendly conversation, a lot of times you could either steer that conversation into, is there anything I could do for you? Is there any way, shape, or form I can serve and support you? And sometimes they'd be like, oh my God, I've been wanting to call you to do this for me. And you just get a deal or an upsell right there and then. Or you can always end the call with, and we always ask for a referral, right? Be like, Dan, we've been working together for a long time. Who do you know that may be having issues with their follow-ups? Right. And then if you ask that question 100 times, you're probably going to get at least one referral.
Absolutely.
I can guarantee one referral if you ask it 100 times.
Yeah. Just ask. And that's the second thing is, again, just ask, just do it, just take action. I mean, I feel like as you're watching or listening right now, like what would happen for you if you applied and implemented what Mostafa mentioned? You recognize that there are people coming to your website right now, today, this moment, and they're leaving. That's the majority, 75, it depends, but over 70% probably on average daily, depending on the type of sources you use. But let's call it 50%. 50% are leaving your site. Well, what if you just followed them around and re-engaged? And Mostafa shared a way to do that. Number two is for the people that are opting in for a tool, a event, a webinar, a whatever. They opt in. After they opt in initially, number one, check in with them, right? Don't just leave it to some automation sequence. Actually try to create a dialogue with them and connect with them, collaborate with them, right? Think about that. Like, how simple is that? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's not an either or. Oh, okay. Well, Dan, what are you saying? You're saying to ditch automation? No. It's an and. You use them both, right? Because the automation does allow you to stay in touch in unique, fun, creative ways on top of using something as simple as a call, right? Number three, what if you just followed up with some of your clients like Mostafa had shared with you? Hey, I was thinking about you. Do you think you're going to get a positive response? Right? 100%. Now, here's the key. Don't do it just one time. Build it as a muscle. Build it as a habit. Build it as something that you do daily, right, during the week or your team. Or if you're looking for a team to help you do it, then I want to encourage you to learn more by going to Persyo, Persyo. I'm sorry, Persyo.com, Persyo.com. Again, all the links are down here in the show notes as well. Now, man, this has like been a masterclass already in like 10 minutes.
Do you mind if I add one more tip here?
Absolutely. Go for it.
So make sure on your opt-in forms, you're collecting phone numbers. And you could do it either as a mandatory field or as an optional field. So I'll share my experience with you on the webinar opt-in forms. When we do it optional as an optional field, we get 40 to 50% opt-ins for the phone number. And here's how we do it. And it works for us. You might want to test it. Here are the fields. There are 3 of them. First name, best email, best phone number. Those are the labels. And then that's all we say. Now, if you could leave the phone number as an optional field or leave it as a mandatory field, depending on the sources of traffic and where they come from. With cold traffic, when you make the phone number field mandatory, you wouldn't experience a drop. But when we do it with JV traffic and with affiliate traffic, we get between 50 to 80% opt-in by having the phone number as a mandatory field. And so another mistake that I see people make is like, put your phone number in, so I'm going to send you reminders. Don't do that, because that's when people read that, they're like, I don't want to get reminders. I'm good. All you would say is first name, best email, best phone number. That's it. And then people will fill it out. Okay.
And I'm going to even plus this a bit because everything that Mostafa is sharing with you is accurate. And I would even encourage you to put an action verb in front of first name, email, phone number, and add the words enter your in front of all 3. And you will likely see an increase in conversion rate as well. As simple as it sounds, we think people, may know to do that. Yeah. Well, not necessarily. And we have found that we can lift conversions a fairly significant amount by including it versus not. So apply that strategy. So, sure. Mostafa, we covered a lot in a short period of time. Like, what is something I should have asked you that we didn't get a chance to cover yet that you think would be also another type of profit breakthrough?
So a myth that people have around follow-up, which we already talked on. Let me share some about that, which is something I deal with all the time. And people say a myth is, I don't want to bother my customers.
Yeah.
Have you heard that, Dan?
Yeah, I've heard that from clients all the time.
That's what's stopping about 99% of, or maybe less. So people say, I don't want to bother my customers. And the fact of the matter is that you're not bothering your customers when you follow up. As a matter of fact, you are actually serving and supporting them. Now, there is a fine line between serving them and bothering them. If you're calling them and every hour, that's bothering them. But if you have a very friendly and nurturing approach, when you follow up with them, they actually thank you for doing that. Now, the other piece is that people say, I've called them once and they said that they're busy. They want to think about it. I don't want to, do this and that. The fact of the matter is that as much as it hurts me, I'm not the center of the planet and the world for my customers. They have things to do. They are busy people. These are like entrepreneurs, business owners, and even salespeople. They have other things in their life. So it's your job and it's on you to follow up properly and consistently until they are ready and in a place to make a decision and maybe purchase or not, right? So by a lack of doing that, you would be hurting yourself. And here's my follow-up philosophy. Would that be okay if I share it?
Yes.
Here's my follow-up philosophy. And the philosophy is that I would be, if I know that I have a solution for you, Dan, for example, if I know you have a problem and I know I have a solution for you, it is on me and it's my responsibility to follow up with you until I can help you or I'm in a position to help you. And if I don't do that, the other side is I'd be hurting you, your team, your family, your bank account, and everyone around you. So that might help you overcome your fear of follow-up if that is how you think about it. It's like, think about this. Let's say that I have a heart attack, right? And you're a doctor and I come to you. Are you going to think about, I don't know if I should follow up this guy, right? Like, the guy is dying, man. Let's go help him, right? And then the doctor would it's on them, I guess, to follow up and make sure they deliver proper service. So follow up is a portion of our business to make sure that we do properly follow up with this person, and we're there for them when they need us, and the rest of it. So I get excited about this because I love this, and I love my relationships. So managing and maintaining your relationships with your customers and with your prospects is a big deal.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, I want to give you something to think about as you're watching or listening right now, right? What Mostafa shared, right? A lot of times, these principles can sound so simple and yet not as powerful. Yet they save lives. They save businesses. They help you get on the right side of a statistic as far as making an impact, growing your revenue, growing your profitability, and more, right? And kind of to Mostafa's point, related to the doctor example, you wouldn't potentially walk away, but some people do, which is kind of funny. I'll give a quick story. My dad has had a very rare form of cancer, which he was diagnosed with many years ago. And he was in Tennessee at the time, which is where him and my mom lived. And he come to find out he got into some conversation with a few other patients. One of them had the same very rare type of cancer. And that person chose not to take advantage of the certain type of specialized chemo combined with some other things that they were going to need to do. And my dad was like what Mostafa said, well, of course I need to do it. Well, long and the short is that other person died less than 30 days later, right? Now, this isn't cancer. It's not to that degree. However, if you're not applying follow-up, it's costing you impact. Is that what you want? If that's not what you want, then I encourage you to apply and implement what Mostafa is sharing with you today. I encourage you, if you want it done for you, then explore, at least be, Dan the explorer, and go explore and talk to Mostafa's team to see if there's a fit and if they might be able to help you. And if they can, you're backed by their guarantee and ROI return. So Mostafa, again, one more time, how can people reach you? How can they connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, search for my name, Mostafa Hosseini, and you can find me. You could visit our website. You can find me on Facebook, but LinkedIn will probably be a good place, and or our website.
Awesome. Now, you've been married 9 years.
Yes.
So I like to shift these from business to some personal things, right? You've been married 9 years. If you were going to turn to your wife today, later, you probably do this even as a practice, knowing you the little bit that I do. But if you were going to turn to your wife later today and say, thank you, honey, for how you've shown up to support me this way, what would you be saying to her?
What would I be saying to her? So I actually went out and bought her roses this morning. That's my silent way of saying thank you. And I do that. I try to do that on a regular basis, and she loves it. But how would I say thank you? I would probably say it exactly as you did. Like, thank you for being there for all these years and putting up with me, and being there through the ups and downs, and being an awesome and amazing wife and an amazing mother, and the rest of it.
That's awesome. Thanks for your vulnerability. Thanks for giving us a look.
Thank
little
you.
bit. Yeah, absolutely. Now, you have 2 kids also.
Yes. I got 2 boys. One is 2.5. One is 6.5. Their names are Ali and Sina.
All right. Which one do you like better? No, I'm kidding. I got that one. I'm kidding. So what are you hoping to do or demonstrate for your kids as far as, like, if we use the legacy word, right, which is kind of a convoluted word, but like if we were going to talk about leaving footprints or thumbprints behind for your kids, like, what would you hope that they get, recognize, value most from you, Mostafa?
From me. Well, the way I try to raise my kids is like I let them experience everything, and I do not block them from feeling or experiencing pain. Like when I see them when they're about to fall, I don't stop them. I tell them, like, if you go there, it's gonna hurt you, and I don't stop them because I want them to experience faster and in front of me when it's supervised, so I can be there to help them and save them. And so that's one thing that I do, is like I don't stop them from experiencing things. And I'd like to grow and raise confident kids. So when they make mistakes, I don't give them shit. Sorry for pardon my French. So I'm like, all right, you did that, but here's probably the better way to do it. And so I'm like, here's how this is going to hurt you. And then that's the biggest piece with me. I let them experience everything. So I want them to grow up and be who they are. I don't want them to be followers. If they want to become engineers, great, go become an engineer. If you want to become a business owner, perfect. Whatever you decide to do, I'm going to be there, and I'm not going to act like I know everything, and I'm not going to act like they should act and be like me. So that's me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What are 1 to 3 personal core values that are just part of your DNA, and limit it to 1 to 3?
So my top 3 values are family, business, and growth and learning. So I spend 99% of my time in family, business, and growth and learning. And that's me. I spend, a lot of reading, doing my business, a lot of hanging out with awesome people like yourself, learning from people like yourself, and constantly, like, even when I'm out on a drive by myself, I'm like, all right, here's YouTube. Let's listen to this guy and see what he has to, to say, and what I can learn.
That's awesome.
And then when I get frustrated, when I'm burnt out from learning, I'm like, all right, let's do one more.
One more. That's the DNA of an overachiever right there.
Absolutely.
And again, as you're watching or listening, I encourage you, if you're at all sparked by what Mostafa has been sharing with you, go check out his work, go check out LinkedIn, go check out his site, Persyo, Persyo.com. And again, all the links are on the page anyhow. So go to Persyo, check out what Mostafa is doing. Who has been your, favorite mentor, influence, or coach that you've worked with, Mostafa?
Favorite coach that I'm a huge fan of Dan Kennedy and his way of thinking when it comes to marketing and the rest of it.
Are you as grumpy as Dan?
What's that?
Are you as grumpy as Dan?
I'm not. No.
Okay.
No. I could be sometimes.
What would your wife say? Like, if I asked your wife, would she say you're pretty grumpy or what?
No.
Okay.
She wouldn't.
How about your kids? Would they say, my dad's grumpy?
They probably wouldn't say that. Sometimes I am, like when I'm sometimes like 6 or 7 p.m. and I'm like really tired. And we just went out to the park and played for 2 hours. We come home and he's like, Dad, let's go play soccer. I'm like, dude, I'm not a robot.
I hear you. My kids would tell you that I am super intense.
Intense?
Intense.
All right.
Very
I can be intense too. Where I'm like, on disc, I'm a high D, high I. So when we get to do business, I'm like, all right, let's get to it. Let's not chit chat and talk about weather. Let's get to it. So I could be intense when I walk in with an intention of doing something. But otherwise I'm pretty chill. I would like to think. You would have to ask people, but people that have had influenced me. Jim Rohn. I've done quite a bit of reading and studying Jim Rohn. Tony Robbins, back in the day, I've studied his stuff quite a bit. Russell Brunson has had pretty good influence on me and what he has achieved. So these are some of the people that I've been following and studying.
That's amazing. And as you're watching or listening, here's the deal. Most successful people you're going to meet, I'm going to meet, we're going to work with, they stand on the shoulders of giants. They stand on the shoulders of experience, right? And if you're looking for a way to fix your follow-up, if you're looking for a way to get, greater retention, greater referrals, greater, mobility, greater leverage, greater optimization strategies with something as simple as follow-up, then I encourage you, go to Persyo.com. That's Persyo.com. Check out Mostafa's work. You won't be disappointed at the end of the day. right? At the end of the day, because let's face it, when you're working with your clients and let's say they opt in or, they, attend an event, you're starting a relationship. See, we're not in B2B. We're not in B2C or any of that nonsense. We're in R to R, and that's relationship to relationship, P2P, person to person, right? And if you were at a restaurant, let's say you were single and you're at a restaurant and you met someone where you had a little chemistry and maybe you got their number. If you waited a month to contact them back, what would the chance be that really you'd reignite the initial chemistry? It's few and far between, isn't it?
But still do it, though. Don't wait.
If you had a little chemistry, with that person and you'd been dating for a couple of weeks and then all of a sudden you vanished for a month, because there's some people who go, I don't want to email too much, so about once a month is about it. No, if you had chemistry and been dating a couple of weeks, you'd probably be, messaging 2-3 times a week. It could be more, could be less, right? Or phone or meeting or whatever, especially if you had chemistry. So there are different stages to be aware of. And again, Mostafa is one of the best. So go check out his work. I'm Dan Kuschell. This is Growth to Freedom. Thanks for making us part of your day. Seize the day. Make it a great week. We'll see you next time on growthtofreedom.com. Bye for now.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you. How was it?
Do a little editing here, but a little tech issue. So
what happened?
Just the camera.
Your camera went off for a second.
Yeah, it went off, which is not a terrible deal. But then when I hit it, I kind of made it crooked. So I'm gonna have to have my guys in post-production fix it. So that'll be fun. No big deal. Right. But it was a great interview. No worries. I love your tangible walk away, strategies. Very useful. Yeah.
Appreciate you. Yeah. And so somebody canceled on one of our August days. We're going to air your show in August sometime. I think in August 20th or so.
Awesome, brother.
And then I'll let you know, and we'll send you all the links and everything.
Cool. And then we'll start circulating on our side through the different channels and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to actually take our episode and we're going to turn it into some of our own stuff, as well as likely we're going to turn it into our own episode we put on our show.
Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day, or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.